What's going on, everyone? Scott here. Welcome back to the channel. So Survivor Season 47, the two-part finale is here, started this Wednesday. If you remember last week, Operation Italy was a success as Andy flipped to vote with Genevieve and Sam to send Caroline home. So now the penultimate episode of Survivor Season 47, the episode recap is here. Before we do jump into that though, if you could hit that like and subscribe button down there. More Survivor content on the channel. We'll obviously have a recap for this week's episode. We'll have the recap for next week's episode. Pretty sure we might have an episode before next week's recap as well, before the episode airs on Wednesday, just giving kind of our final predictions for the season. But it's been a fun season. Make sure to subscribe to your channel so you don't miss a video. A bunch of other stuff on that channel as well. So let's just jump right into it. Back at camp after the vote, Sue is obviously upset that her biggest ally in the game is now out of the game. Wants to rip Andy's head off, as she says, but she does have an idol. So she's still got, some game left here to go. Andy, Sam, and Genevieve are incredibly happy that Operation Italy went off without a hitch. Genevieve assures Andy that this is his move and will tell, anyone that asks that this was his move. Teeny, Rachel, and Sue talk about not having respect for Andy flip-flopping so much, and that's kind of what I was worried about for Andy after that, when you saw the jury kind of say, like, that was Andy, he flipped again. Seems to be the sentiment in the game as well, not just the jury. Andy and Teeny talk, and Teeny wants him to explain why he voted the way he did, and he said that he thought of it on the way to tribal council, basically, and wanted to split up Caroline, Sue, and Rachel. Sam, Andy, and Genevieve are trying to recruit Teeny. They all talk, and they play it off of, not that it was this plan that they cooked up on this reward, which I think is, not that far off of a story. It's like, yeah, we talked, I like the idea, and, that's where we went, but they all play it off like it was some happy accident, that the vote happened the way it did, and, everything happened that way, and that, Genevieve had an idol, she had guts of steel and didn't play it, even though Sam said she didn't trust me to play it, but doesn't play it off, but Teeny, goes along with it, and, Teeny doesn't trust anyone, though, in this game, as you shouldn't in Survivor, and doesn't know what her path to the end is now. Teeny mentions getting Rachel out for being a big challenge and fire threat, obviously coming down to the end here, and wants to work with them to achieve that. Rachel sneaks over and crawls by a bush and listens to the entire conversation. Here's how big of a threat she is, and how big of a threat they believe she is, and how she's, a challenge threat, fire threat, and basically saying everything that she can't win immunity challenge tomorrow. So she gets all that information, and here's Teeny also tell them that Rachel has a block a vote. So now all the information is basically out there, except that they don't know that she has an idol and can blow this whole thing up. Rachel goes back and tells Sue, and Rachel for sure has the most information in the game at this point. Hearing that conversation, she knows it. She knows where the block vote is. She knows where the idol is. She knows Sue has an idol. She knows pretty much every secret for the most part in this game, except the fact that Genevieve's idol is not real. Rachel thinks that they can do this and pull this off because, if she loses immunity, she'll get all the votes, and, they can kind of pick and choose who they want with her idol and, go from there. But they have to make Teeny think that they are still working with her. At the final 6 immunity challenge, big water challenge with a puzzle at the end. Reward portion as well, steak, baked potatoes, wine, and cheesecake at the sanctuary. Everything sounds good on that, but you can hold the cheesecake for me. But at the sanctuary where good things happen. Spot at the final 5 on the line in a showdown, as we kind of see in the game right now, between Rachel and Genevieve at the puzzle. Jeff trolls everyone else who wasn't even really close at this point, saying, no one's close, you might have more fun watching like I am. Genevieve pulls it out, guaranteed spot in the final 5 for Genevieve. Takes Sue on the reward as well as Teeny. Thought that was kind of an interesting choice, but she does say at the reward that she wanted to enjoy this time with people that, she, might have crossed in this game, or, might have not, worked with closely in this game. So, looking back on that, I think that was probably good for her, planning ahead if she can get to that final 3 and, possibly jury management, try to make friends. And also for herself, even though it seems like a pretty clear cut, hey, let's get Rachel out tonight. making other avenues for yourself there. So I guess at the end of the day, not too crazy of a choice there for the reward. Genevieve says she's going to try and lightly push Rachel as the biggest threat. And, Teeny's down because she won't beat her in a puzzle or a fire. Teeny spills the beans about Genevieve's idol. Sue didn't know that she had an idol, even though it's fake. And obviously Genevieve says, I don't care. Hey, keep going, Teeny. You can build up this fake idol, that it is, and, make her game look better. Refill the wine, as Genevieve says after getting a little bit of red wine there, as Teeny lets the secrets fly. But Rachel asks Andy and Sam why they handed Genevieve the game if they don't think that they can beat her, at the end of this thing. And Sam says to her, like, he wanted to work with her, but he felt that Rachel wanted to work with Sue, Caroline, and Andy. So that's why their paths just never lined up to work together. And that's why he, kind of flipped around. Rachel gets emotional saying, like, it's not personal. I'm just mad at myself. This was my type of challenge, and that they're almost like brothers. Like, even though that, they've been on this beach together for so long, even though they haven't always worked together, they've been here and like, oh, we'll be friends. We'll hang out after this. She's saying all this, but she's like, little do they know, I will be waking up on this beach tomorrow one way or another. She would love to save her idol, to play it at 5, guarantee herself a spot at least in the fire making challenge at 4. Pitching to Sam and Andy, pitching Sam to Andy, basically saying like, jury sees a nothing burger from Andy right now, and he's deceived her multiple times, as she says, and he wants his perception to change. So Andy seems like genuinely considering some options here, possibly going after Sam. The reward group returns back to camp, and Genevieve says, when things feel obvious and easy, people like to try stuff, so would like to make sure that doesn't happen. Sam's worried that he's Rachel's target. Rachel just tells Andy that blocking Sam's vote and the ball's in your court. Like, whatever you do, here we go. Andy says to Rachel afterwards in a private conversation that it's best for him to vote her out. Ask her to keep an open mind, basically on the jury, with the moves he's been making. Classic jury management, but Rachel, I think might have backfired here, because Rachel starts to see Andy as more of a threat than she did before, and that he's been playing a better game than people give him credit for, basically. And he even says, I just wanted to say goodbye to you, but, now she's questioning if he's a better choice to go home than Sam. At Tribal Council, Rachel calls BS on what happened at the last Tribal Council, that it was just some happy accident. So let's just call it for what it is. Andy flipped last Tribal Council. Jeff presses Andy a little bit and says, yeah, I flipped. Rachel has a great analogy for, or whatever you want to call it, for her and Genevieve, saying they're like Harry Potter and Voldemort, both intertwined in this weird way, and, they both can't exist on the beach at the same time, basically. One of them has to die. Or in this case, one of them has to be voted out in this game, not going that extreme. But Jeff gives Rachel her swan song, asks what she's learned in this game, and hold on a second here, Jeffrey. At the vote, Rachel blocks Sam's vote and plays her idol, and then an incredible line dropped here by Rachel. Only thing better than attending your own funeral is knowing you're going to wake up the next day. That is absolutely a nasty line. Gotta go towards the top of Survivor one-liners that we've seen in the history of this game. That was nasty. Save herself. Her and Sue vote for Andy, and he goes home. Back at camp, they want to know where Rachel got her idol, and she wants to know where Genevieve got hers. Rachel tells that, she got it, after the merge, and I think hers was in her French fries at the merge feast that they had, or the merge reward that they had, and she got it in the tarp. There, Genevieve makes it up that she got it on the loved ones, sanctuary reward, and that it was underneath a slice of pizza. Makes it up, and as she says, fake it till you make it. And a battle between Rachel and Genevieve is coming, and they're not hiding that they want each other out. Both feel that each other would win if either of them gets to the end, and the island's not big enough for the both of them, as Genevieve says. In the morning, Rachel's out searching for her idol. Sam grabs Rachel's bag to search to see if she has anything. They don't find anything. Genevieve says how both her and Rachel, being two professional women in their 30s, is something cool about Survivor 47. They share a hug as frenemies, as they say, as they respect each other in this game, and it's a cool wrinkle to the end of this game, I believe, here. And Rachel asks if neither of them make it to the end, who wins? Genevieve says Sam. Sam, Teenie, and Sue say that they didn't like how Rachel and Genevieve were coming back talking about how they're going to be duking it out and that it's basically seeming like it's a game just between the two of them. Okay, from the outside perspective, that's what it seems like. It seems like Rachel and Genevieve are the two clear biggest targets and threats in this game. If either of them makes it to the end, feel like they would have the leg up and winning. That's not saying everyone else doesn't have a shot in this thing still, but that's currently where we're sitting at right now. At the Final 5 Immunity Challenge, guaranteed you won't be voted out of this game. At least have a shot at making fire at the Final 4. Have to sprint out of the water, dig through some sand, and then stack balls on a stand while standing on a wobbly plank platform, and Rachel pulls it out. Holy cow, a back and forth battle. Everyone was in it, getting halfway up, but that thing just kept falling. But Rachel and Genevieve, they didn't have a timer on that thing, but it seemed like it was going on for probably an hour, if not longer. Getting it built up, I think you had to get 6 balls and stanchions, stacked up, and Rachel ends up pulling it out. Guaranteed spot in the Final 4. Guaranteed she won't be voted out in this game. Chance to at least make fire at 4. Genevieve's fake idol is still in play, so not over yet. Sam knows that he's probably going to be the target if they believe Genevieve has an idol, but obviously at this point, he's the only one in the game that knows Genevieve's idol is fake. So Sam tells Teenie that the idol is fake and that he made it with her, Andy knew about it, and, that's how that whole plan came about, and she's like, everything makes more sense now. I think Sam actually even told her the name of Operation Italy, because later in a confessional, we hear Teenie talking about Operation Italy, so let all the cats out of the bag there, Sam did. Teenie replays all the times Genevieve fooled them in this game and fell into every trap. Teenie tells Sue and Rachel that there's no idol. Rachel thinks it's a little fishy. Sue doesn't believe it either. Teenie approaches Genevieve and just lets it out and, basically, let's be honest here, and tells her everything that Sam said, that the idol's fake, and came with a plan to get her out. Genevieve does tell Teenie that it is fake. Rachel and Sue still don't buy it as Teenie comes back with more information. I mean, rightfully so. In this game, you gotta believe everything is thought out and a plan, but they still don't buy it. So who knows what is going to happen. As we head to Tribal Council, Teenie says to everyone that Sam and Genevieve's idol isn't real. Sam came to me with this information. They've been fooled so many times that, can they even believe that it's not a real idol? Sam says that I've learned if I want something out there in this game, I've learned to tell Teenie. Sam is campaigning hard for Genevieve, that I'm voting for Genevieve, you should vote Genevieve out of this game, and Genevieve's like, well, that's what I've been told is happening. She's like, I'm sorry if you don't like the, spin around, spin zone, basically, that she's been giving people of Teenie saying that didn't like about, what Genevieve has done spinning people around so far in this game, but Genevieve's also like, well, what do you want me to do? Just lay down? No. So we get to the vote. Sue plays her idol. Comes down to one vote, tied up, and Genevieve gets the last vote and ends up going home. So Genevieve's run here on Survivor 47 comes to an end. Was a really enjoyable player to watch and get to know over the season, and was a really good, threatening player in this game, and would love to see her back in a couple seasons for Survivor Season 50. But next week on the finale of Survivor Season 47, it's going to be a battle, definitely. But now we feel like, we talked about it earlier, felt like Rachel and Genevieve were the two biggest threats in this game, by a little distance. I feel like if she can get through 4, get to that final 3, I think she's got it in a bag. Obviously, it's not going to be easy. I think, Teenie's been pretty out there, it seems like, about, that she doesn't think one of her strengths is fire. So I have to imagine she probably, let's say if Rachel doesn't win immunity and they're looking for someone to try and take her out, I'd have to imagine that Teenie probably wouldn't be in that fire making challenge, since they basically expressed that making fire probably not a strong suit here. So probably going to come down to Sue and Sam if Rachel doesn't win immunity to try and beat Rachel in fire. And I think they're both capable. I think they're both capable. And I'll say that I don't want this to sound like I'm just piling on Sam and Sue and Teeny, I like, for the most part, I like all of them. I said it before, how I like how Teeny is authentically themselves here. I like Sam. I think he's a likable player in this game. Sue, I mean, I'm kind of trying to think of their final tribal like speeches, and for Sue, she's been in a pretty much majority alliance for a majority of this game, and after her closest ally was voted out, last week at the 7, and her being able to maneuver here to the end, I think there's a shot for everyone left in this game, but I just think the game that Rachel has played so far, it is better than everyone there. But I mean, people can push back and say that, hey, Andy fooled you a couple times. You weren't always in the majority vote, but I think I think her story is already strong enough right now, but I think it gets even more strong if she gets there in general, but I think if she wins her way in at the immunity challenge next week, then I think her story and gets even stronger. I mean, unless it's I don't know which one would be stronger. Actually, thinking about it, if it would be stronger for her winning the immunity challenge to get in, or if her losing and say if someone tries to pull, we've seen it in seasons past. Let's just say, hypothetically, let's say Sam wins the immunity challenge and he gives up his immunity to, say, Teeny or Sue, and puts himself up against Rachel to try to beat her one-on-one in the fire-making challenge because she's the biggest threat in this game. And let's say Rachel then beats Sam to go to the final 3. Talking through it, I think that actually might be a bigger nail in the coffin for Rachel to win this thing, but I do think there's a window that this is still open. If Rachel has to go to fire, anything can happen in fire. We've seen it before. Really good fire makers that made fire throughout the season, just struggle sometimes, and just sometimes you can't get anything to catch. So, but by far and away, not a guarantee next Wednesday that Rachel wins this thing, but as of right now, I will stand by if Rachel gets to 3, I think she wins this thing. And I love Rachel. She's actually thinking about it and watching her gameplay, especially these last couple episodes. She's probably one of my favorite players in the last couple years. Probably put her up there, put Dee up there as well. Charlie from last season. But yeah, would love to see all 3 of those players that I just mentioned. Would love to see all of them back for season 50. I think that would be fun. But anyway, as I said, we'll be back possibly next week, either on Tuesday or Wednesday morning. Possibly just giving kind of our last final predictions for the season finale of Survivor Season 47. It's been a really fun season. And then obviously we will be back afterwards with a recap of the finale as well. So anyway, that'll do it for this one. Thank you all so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Peace out.